Hello, welcome to McDoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. In this series we play through each of the standalone battles in Close Combat 4, the Battle of the Bulge. We use historical World War II US Army doctrine to plan and conduct each battle. In this episode, the battle continues, at Baraque de Fraiture. The Americans are defending, the Germans attacking. On the US side is an American airborne battle group from the 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment, under command of Captain Goranson. It moves at medium speed and reserves are full. First platoon is airborne infantry, second platoon is airborne infantry, and third platoon is support. I have renamed each of the squads. Now, let's review each of the squads. 1-1 is 1st Platoon Headquarters. 1-2 is a BAR squad. 1-3 is a BAR squad. 1-4 is an M9 bazooka team. 1-5 is a 30 caliber medium machine gun. 2-1 is 2nd Platoon Headquarters. 2-2 is a BAR squad. 2-3 is also a BAR squad. 2-4 is an M9 bazooka team. 3-1 is 3rd Platoon Headquarters. 3-2 is an M10 Wolverine tank destroyer. 3-3 is also an M10 Wolverine tank destroyer. 3-4 is a 57mm anti-tank gun. And 3-5 is an 81mm medium mortar. Next, let's look at the map and conduct a commander's estimate of the situation. Our mission is to deny the crossroads at Baraque de Fraiture in order to block the German advance on Bastogne. The company has finally arrived at the crossroads. It is a cold night, with the stars twinkling above, each man's breath momentarily forming a little frozen cloud. "Can we billet the men in their houses?" asks the young officer. "No," replies his commander, Major Arthur C. Parker. "That would only give them a warm bed for the night and a cold grave come morning." He sees the perplexed look on the LT's face. "Let me explain," he offers. The crossroads at Baraque de Fraiture sit at an elevation of 651 metres, making them one of the highest points in the Ardennes and controlling a vital network of roads. Roads lead east to Vielsalm and from there to Saint-Vite, south to Offlize and from there to Bastogne, west to La Roche, and north to Manet. Either side of the road are thick woods, with a fire trail to the southeast. This picture from the Battle of Grandmesnil website shows the crossroads looking north. Wide open fields immediately around the crossroads, and further back thick forests either side of the road. And this diagram shows the historical American defensive positions and German attacks over a number of days. The historical Battle of Baraque de Fraiture involved a mixed unit of the 589th Field Artillery Battalion and the 814th Tank Destroyer Battalion, led by Major Arthur Parker, attached to the 82nd Airborne Division. They were attacked repeatedly from the 20th of December 1944, including on 23rd of December by elements of the 2nd Panzer Division, Das Reich. Other than the woods, observation is unobstructed across the entire area, with long sightlines down roads and an open fire trail to the southeast. The woods provide the most concealment in the area, with some concealment but little cover provided by the wooden buildings at the crossroads. The thick woods obstruct vehicle movement, but otherwise there are no natural obstacles in the area. The crossroads itself is key terrain, including the two multi-storey buildings for their elevation. The woods to the south are also key terrain, as they threaten control of the crossroads. The entire area around the crossroads makes an excellent avenue of approach for a platoon of German tanks in Reihe or line formation. Although we cannot be sure, it is likely the Americans are facing elements of the 2nd Panzer Division Das Reich. So, we must expect tanks. Lots of tanks. The likely German mission is to seize the crossroads in order to advance, south to Offlies and from there to Bastogne. And the crossroads are the likely German objective. The Germans could try to push the panzers forward past the crossroads, taking advantage of long sight lines to dominate the area with firepower. German Panzergrenadier infantry, supported by Sonderkraftfahrzeug half-tracks, could then follow, clearing each of the buildings and setting up a defensive position on the crossroads. With the crossroads secure, the Germans could either push forward west to La Roche or swing south to clear the woods and the road to Offlies and from there to Bastogne. Either way, the Germans must cross the line formed by the Mannheim-Offlies road. As the most predictable location to target the Germans, this will be the killing zone. The key to the American defence would therefore be their anti-tank weapons. The 2 Wolverines, the 57mm anti-tank gun, and the 2 bazooka squads. Once these are placed, the rest of the defensive position would screen these weapon systems. The first option is a defensive position with oblique fire. 3rd Platoon, including the 2 Wolverines and the anti-tank gun, would take position concealed on the edge of the woods west of the road to Mannheim. They would engage German panzers entering the killing zone with oblique fire. The infantry of 2nd Platoon would hold the buildings west of the crossroads, with 2 BAR squads engaging infantry in the open at range, and a bazooka squad to deal with any panzers breaking through. Once the panzers were dealt with, 1st Platoon would counterattack from a forming up point in the woods to the south, moving north to the tree line, engaging any remaining German infantry from the flank, and then assaulting the buildings east of the crossroads. The second option is an ambush with flanking fire. Rather than confront German armour head-on, or with oblique fire, the Americans would let the panzers push forward to the crossroads unopposed. There, they would be engaged by the Wolverines, firing from a concealed flanking position on the road to Offlies. Any panzers pushing through the Wolverine killing zone would meet with the 57mm anti-tank gun and a bazooka team in the buildings west of the crossroads. German infantry entering the killing zone would encounter 2nd Platoon, firing from foxholes in the tree line to the southwest. Once the panzers were dealt with, 1st Platoon would counterattack from a forming up point in the woods to the south, moving north to the tree line, engaging any remaining German infantry from the flank, and then assaulting the buildings east of the crossroads. I have made my decision and have placed the platoons and squads in position. Let's check the sight lines for the primary weapon systems. First platoon in its forming up point in the woods to the south. Ready to advance on order to the tree line and retake the crossroads. The medium machine gun covering the open flank to the east. Second platoon in the tree line southwest of the crossroads, covering the killing zone with their BAR. And 3rd Platoon's Wolverines in concealed positions to the south on the road to Offlies. With the anti-tank gun concealed in the village, and the mortar firing from a depth position in the woods. And so we begin. Panzers. 2 Panther tanks. And 2 half-tracks to the south. Panzer Grenadier Infantry sprinting across the fields to get to the buildings at the crossroads. At least 2 squads. Ventura's gun engages the Panther to the north. There are 3 Panther tanks in the north. Ventura's gun takes return fire. More Panzer Grenadier in the south. Gould's mortar opens a counterfire mission on the Sonderkofferzeug 251x2 8cm mortar half-track. The gunfight in the north is 3-1 against. Bad odds. Ventura's gun is hit and destroyed. And the Germans have taken the buildings east of the crossroads. This battle is already going badly for the Americans. Some good news, as the Panther to the south is immobilized with a shot from the Wolverine. The big cats are on the prowl. Hurrah! The first Panther knocked out with a flanking shot. Direct hit. The Sonderkofferzeug 251x2 8cm mortar half-track is destroyed by a mortar round in its open compartment. Gould's mortar runs out of HE ammo, but the Northern Wolverine is also knocked out. Minutes into battle, and the Americans have lost half their anti-tank combat power, with 3 Panthers still in the field. The Germans now have the eastern half of the crossroads, but their vehicle losses appear to have caused some confusion. The Panthers and infantry mill about rather than press the assault. Lumley takes his bazooka team into the 2-story building for a better shot. To the south, a dreaded Sonderkofferzeug 251x16 Flammenwerfer. Overall's medium machine gun does not have the shot. Just as well, Overall thinks. Platoon headquarters orders Lee and Bergman on the bazooka to go hunting in the woods. The Panthers are still having a conclave behind the buildings at the crossroads. Not the tactical aggression one would expect from the Das Reich division. Conclave over, they are on the move. Straight to the killing zone. Hearing the revving of tank engines, Tucker in the Wolverine orders Henderson to be ready to fire. tension mounts. German infantry pushing north.
Meisterchen! Team down!
To the south, the dreaded sound of a flamethrower. 2 Panthers in the killing zone. Henderson knocks out one with a flanking shot. And a second. Another Panther. There are 5 in total, 3 down. First shot hits, but no effect.
All of our tanks have been destroyed.
And Tucker's Wolverine is knocked out by return fire. Lumley's bazooka squad at the Kleine Fraiture is the only remaining anti-tank weapon in the company.
Ein fliegendes Geschoss!
2nd Platoon engages infantry east of the crossroads.
His armor's too thick!
Hit! No effect. Hit again! Immobilized. Lumley is knocked out.
Team down!
And the squad eliminated.
We need to pull back!
1st Platoon hold their positions.
Enemy spotted!
And the medium machine gun still has no shot at the Flammenwerfer. 2nd Platoon have also gone to ground in the woods to the southwest of the crossroads. The Germans have taken the crossroads, but at the cost of 3 Panther tanks destroyed and 1 immobilized, and a Sonderkofferzeug knocked out. Only 1 Panther remains able to move and fight. Time to call it a day and request a truce. The Americans still control the woods to the south and the road to Offlees, but have lost both Wolverines, the anti-tank gun, and both bazooka squads. And the Germans have not yet secured the roads to Manet or La Roche. What will the Germans do next?
Feigling!
The Flammenwerfer moves into the forest. And 1st Platoon goes to ground. No one wants to share Lee and Bergman's fate. It looks like the Germans are pulling back from the crossroads, consolidating their position. Second platoon could push forward to recover the buildings west of the crossroads. But with no effective anti-tank weapon against the remaining Panthers, it would be a hollow gesture, and they would only be forced to retreat, or be annihilated in the attempt. But they can target German infantry withdrawing east, put the Germans back on the defensive.
Close!
And the battle ends abruptly with a major German victory. The battle ended because both sides agreed to a ceasefire. Both sides still control some victory locations. The Germans won the battle because they control a greater number of crucial victory locations than the Americans. The Americans lost 5 killed, 6 wounded, 2 Wolverine tank destroyers destroyed, and the anti-tank gun destroyed. The Germans lost 7 killed, 6 wounded, 3 tanks destroyed and 1 immobilized, and 1 armoured vehicle destroyed, the mortar half-track. Let's examine the American squads. First platoon intact. No casualties. Apart from Lee and Bergman on the bazooka, both killed by the Flammenwerfer. Second platoon, also intact. No casualties. Apart from Lumley and Jobs and the bazooka, both seriously wounded. A dangerous business, this bazooka. Herring, in Tucker's Wolverine, seriously wounded. Henderson is credited with a tank kill, shares credit with Donnell for a second, and is awarded the Bronze Star. Clanton is killed and Ray seriously wounded in the second Wolverine. Biggs is credited with the third tank kill and awarded the Combat Infantryman's Badge. King and Padilla killed, and Ventura and Sheridan seriously wounded on the 57mm anti-tank gun. Turns out their armour was too thick. Finally, Asuncion on the 81mm mortar is credited with the half-track kill, dropping a mortar bomb into the open top of their opposite number. A shot like that deserves a medal. So, what did we learn? Both sides took similar casualties, and victory was declared on the victory locations alone, 3 against 2 with 1 undecided. But look closer, and 3 salient points emerge. First, both tank destroyers did their job, accounting for 3 heavy Panther tanks between them, and another immobilized by bazooka fire. The tank destroyers and bazooka used flanking fire from concealed positions, just as WW2 US Army doctrine recommends. Second, while the Americans lost both Wolverines, they preserved most of their infantry strength, thus continuing to threaten the southern flank of the Crossroads position with an infantry platoon either side of the road to Fleas. Whereas, the Germans lost the bulk of their armour strength, with only 1 Panther tank and 1 half-track able to advance. Third, the Germans did not push on and seize the road to Mannheim in the north, or the road to La Roche in the west, or the road to Fleas in the south. All 3 would have been relatively easy to take, with minimal American resistance against the remaining Panther tank. This indicates the German Kampfgruppe had culminated and could not advance further. Rather than opening the road to Bastogne and then on to Antwerp, the Das Reich Division only has a tenuous hold on a single crossroads. So, while the Americans perhaps did not achieve their task, deny the crossroads, more importantly, they did achieve their purpose: block the German advance. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. And stay tuned for the next episode.